Good day, everyone. Scooter coming to you live from the Granville Guitars World Headquarters here in lovely St. Petersburg, Florida. Today is Saturday, February the 9th, 2019. And on the bench today, we have a few basses of historical interest to those of you who are fans of Cannibal Corpse and Alex Webster. Today we're going to be having a look at Alex's Modulus Quantum 5 instruments that he used through the late 90s and on up until completely going Spector some time back. And we're going to get to Alex's words on all this here in just a minute. This first one here, and he has three of them total. One is at his home and doesn't travel, and then he has two that were traveling instruments. The reason they are in my shop is that back in, I want to say, when I did the previous 4 clips about Alex's touring basses, the Spectors, where I did all the electronics and we did a fret, dress, and level to one of them, all of that work, while that was being performed, he was in Tampa rehearsing for a tour with Cannibal Corpse. And the basses he was using for those rehearsals were these old Modulus basses of his, because all of his Spectors were here in my shop. It turned out for rehearsals they had various problems electronically. One of them got a new preamp. This one right here actually got an entirely new preamp installed, EMG. And so that's why they're here. Let's take a close look here real quick. These are EMG 40 DCs, which were his preferred EMG pickups. It has the BQC system preamp, which comprises a master volume there, balance control, stacked bass and treble, and also a mid-range boost and cut and frequency select is the standard EMG preamp. Anyways, his string gauges, as always, DR high beams from our good friends over there at DR. The gauges on these are 45 through 125. There they are. 125, 105, 85, 65, 45. Both of these basses I have set up for the higher of the two Cannibal Corpse tunings, which is A sharp. That tuning is essentially, it's a normal 5-string bass tuned 1/2 step flat. Normally a 5-string bass has a B on the bottom. This is tuned to A sharp. So we have A sharp, D sharp, G sharp, C sharp, and F sharp on the top. This bass here is the older of the two. If you look up here close, you can see that the Modulus logo is actually silver. And you can see a little spot there where Alex has worn through the top layers of finish with his thumb. There's a little spot, a couple of them right there. And there's the silver logo. This bass does not have a truss rod, and the neck is set the way it is. Later on, Modulus decided on a truss rod so that the player could adjust the curvature of the neck, as stable as they are, to different preferences. This is also the older of the two bridge styles that Modulus had. I'm not real fond of this bridge, to be honest with you. Adjustment is difficult at best, and it's not a whole lot of fun to mess with. Their newer bridge that you'll see here in a minute, I think, is a better mousetrap. The neck on these, if you didn't know, is graphite, carbon graphite. And you can see, as you look at it, you can see the finish they put on it to let you know that it's that kind of a finish. And that carries over to the back of the neck as well. They were, when they first came out, these were Modulus Graphite was actually the name of the company, as I recall, and they dropped the graphite at a certain point when they started doing things with normal woods, etc. Alright, this is the other of the two Modulus basses. Again, it's a Quantum 5, but this one has a truss rod adjustment down here, as you can see. And the logo, the Modulus logo, is white. This bass is in better condition overall. Not so much rust, not so many scratches. And we'll let Alex tell the tale here in just a moment. Again, there's the headstock, and you can see the white logo up on top of the headstock there. So here are Alex's comments on these basses. In 1996, we released our 5th album, Vile. It was our first album where we used the B flat, or what I refer to myself. This is Scooter here talking now, not Alex. I refer to that as A sharp because that's the way the tuner sees it as A sharp. At any rate, that's the first album where the B flat tuning was used. This came about because our old guitarist Jack had bought an Ibanez 7-string. Before that, all of our albums were simply tuned a half step below standard E flat, A flat, D flat, etc. So when we added the 7-string to our arsenal, we decided to stick with the half step down tuning. The B flat tuning that we now use with 6-string guitars that are technically detuned an entire tritone down from standard tuning. Rob, Jack, and then Pat all preferred a 6-string over a 7-string. So anyway, because of this, I, meaning Alex of course, needed to get a 5-string. The first one I got was an Ibanez Sound Gear. That one was okay, but wasn't as good as their 4-string basses, in my opinion. So for the recording of Vile, I rented a USA Stuart Spector Designs 5-string from Thoroughbred Music in Tampa, Florida. That bass was used for all of the 5-string songs on Vile. There were a handful of 4-string songs on that album as well, and for those, a Fender P bass was used. Anyway, after the recording, I went to Thoroughbred Music to buy a USA Spector like the one I had rented, but the price was a bit high. It was somewhere in the $3,000 range. So the salesman at Thoroughbred let me try out a Modulus 5-string, as he said they had similar qualities to the Spector but were, amazingly considering their cost now, less expensive than the Spector. I tried the Modulus, loved it, and promptly ordered one in the color black for $1,800. That original Modulus is not one of the two that I just worked on. So in other words, this is me interjecting here into Alex's words. I don't have the original Modulus here to be worked on. The other 2 basses are the ones he got later. Picking up again with Alex's stuff here, I have it here at home. It's basically retired. I recorded the following with it, if my memory serves me correctly. And this would be the retired Modulus that lives at Alex's home. Gallery of Suicide, Bloodthirst, and Live Cannibalism were all recorded on that original Modulus. Not these 2 basses that I have here. Let's see here. So the basses we do have here, the one that's on the bench right now, let me get, okay, not this bass, but the other one that does not have the truss rod. That was my second Modulus, which I bought to be a backup for the first one. I used it a lot, too. You may see somewhere by the neck pickup from many hours of plucking. I also ended up recording an album with that bass, our 8th album, Gore Obsessed. I think I bought that bass in 1997. The serial number should have the year in it, I believe. He goes on to say, the other bass, and that's this one that's on the bench right now, with the truss rod is much newer. I bought it sometime in the 2000s, I think. I never recorded with it as far as I remember. That bass is actually my 4th Modulus Quantum 5-string bass. I had bought a 3rd one that had a wooden fretboard around 2001 or 2002, but sold it within a year or 2 of buying it, as the wooden fretboard didn't give me the sound I had hoped it would, and I realized the composite fretboard was really one of the things I liked the most about Modulus basses. Both of those basses saw a good amount of stage action, especially the older one. That's been all over the place. And again, that's not this one that's on the bass, the one that has the finger wear by the pickup. He also goes on to say in this message, also some general info on why I switched to Spector. After Gore Obsessed, and leading up to the recording of our 9th album, The Wretched Spawn, I decided I wanted to try a wooden neck and fretboard bass in the studio again, and remembering my success with Spector on Vile, I reached out to them and ordered a Euro 5 LX. This is the blue-black stain bass that can be seen in our Frantic Disembowelment studio video, as well as the other footage from that recording. I also ended up recording a few more Cannibal Corpse albums with that bass, as well as the Blotted Science and Conquering Dystopia releases. But even though I was using Spector basses in the studio basically from 2003 forward, I still continued to use my Modulus basses as my primary touring basses for several more years, until Spector decided to make me a signature bass. At that point, I retired the Modulus basses and started using Spector for pretty much all of my live and studio work, with rare exceptions. In my opinion, the Modulus basses are amazing live instruments. They can go from desert to jungle to tundra, and your setup won't change an iota. They are as roadworthy a bass as you can buy. My main reason for switching was that I, and the producers that we worked with, struggled to create a great live sound of these basses in the studio. We had no such struggles with Spector. They are excellent live basses as well, and in the studio you can instantly get a killer tone, that massive piano sustain that they are famous for. And he also sent me another message later that a couple of things he forgot to mention. Modulus Quantum 5 basses are among the first to use a 35-inch scale rather than 34. It made finding strings a problem at times, and had a couple of stressful string hunts on the road the first year that I owned them. More than once I bought so-called long scale 5-string sets that were too short and tapered before the nut. Not cool, especially at $30 a set. Thankfully, I learned about DR strings. Their high beams fit the 35-inch scale even back then. I think I started using them in 97 or 98, and that's pretty much all I've used since then. They sound amazing too, of course. So there you go. There is a wellspring of information from Alex about his basses. And I'm going to try and post the text from his message so that you can read over it yourself if that's more convenient for you, rather than listening to me yammer on for 7 minutes. But I just thought it would be interesting to some of you out there to see this thing. I'm going to plug it in and play it a little bit and let you hear what it sounds like. And hopefully you don't laugh too hard at my playing. Alright, here we go. Once again, this is one of Alex's Modulus. This is the newest one that has the least amount of wear, and it's got the bridge that I prefer. It's a lot like a newer Spector bridge that actually has the adjustment screws. It's really makes life a lot easier. Anyway, again, A sharp, D sharp, G sharp, C sharp, F sharp. Got a master volume, blend pop. This pot here is mid-frequency and amount. And then bass and treble stacked back here. Lots of bass. It's just got this big, wonderful, high fidelity kind of a sound. Sustains a lot everywhere. Most of the notes across the fretboard sound like open strings. They just they sustain a lot. lost my place. There it is. It's actually kind of freaky to play when you're listening to yourself play, because it's a very even tone. There's no dead spots. There's no notes that kind of jump out more to the ear. Hopefully that's translating to this tiny little camera microphone. It's pretty cool. I'm enjoying this one, I gotta say. But anyway, so that's all I needed to say today. Like I said, I will post the transcription of Alex's words so you can have them to read at your leisure if you don't want to listen to me yammer on through that whole thing. I thought that Alex's fans and Cannibal Corpse fans in general would be interested to hear about these old basses from a previous time in their career that a lot of people still really enjoy. That's all I know for today. If you want to know anything more about what we do here at Granville Guitars, seek us out on the internet at www.granvilleguitars.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, and the blog over at WordPress, A View from the Granville Bench. That's all I know for today. Look for Cannibal Corpse coming to your town soon. Starting their tour, I think it's this coming Friday, the 14th. I think they're coming to Texas first, with our very good friend, Mr. Eric Rutan, standing in on guitar for our other very good friend, Mr. Pat O'Brien. Should make for a great tour. This upcoming tour of theirs is with Morbid Angel. Should be a great show. Get out there and support live music. And that's all I know for today. Have a rockin' good day.